In this episode of Things You Should Be Asking Your Accountant in the UK, here at Business Bites, we're going to have a look at some employment changes that come into effect in April 2025. Now, the question to be asking is, how will the changes to minimum wage and employers' national insurance affect my business? We did this originally in October 2024 for one of our clients, and they shared it around a few people, and we've been persuaded now to put a little video, a Business Bites video episode together that describe what these changes are with a proper work through example. Now, if you subscribe to our channel and send us a message, we'll actually make this spreadsheet available to you that we're going to run through now, so you can have a proper good look to the nearest 10 quid on how the changes will affect you. So, here we go. We did some work for a customer a few months back once Rachel Reeve announced the budget in October 2024 that would make changes to a number of things on payroll from April 2025, which is coming up round the corner. And it was suggested that we make this available generally. So our example here, the first example, shows a business whereby there are 15 members of staff, each working 16 hours a week on minimum wage of £11.44. It's pretty typical of a lot of childcare nurseries, of leisure industry, pubs, bars, restaurants, cafes, where a lot of the staff are on minimum wage. Now, this minimum wage is increasing to £12.21 from April, along with a couple of other changes, one of which is the rate of national insurance for employers increasing to 15%, and also the employers' national insurance allowance that employers can claim of £5,000 currently, increasing to £10,500. So what our clients wanted us to look at was how this would affect the weekly, monthly and annual payroll for the business. So what we've done here is we've taken the minimum wage and multiplied it by the number of hours per week to give us a weekly pay. And then we've taken the same calculation and put it into a column for gross monthly pay and gross annual pay. And you can see £142,000 is the annual gross salaries. Now then, factor into that the increase in the minimum wage to £12.21, and let's have a look and see how that all pans out. So what we end up with here is the same sort of set of columns, but with the national insurance change and the minimum wage change. So this first column here we just seen highlights how much the NI is for the employer's NI pre-budget and how much it is post-budget and how much the total gross salary bill is. And you can see there it's increased by pretty much £10,000. Quite a big hike. You can also see that the employer's national insurance before the budget is nearly £11,000 less than it will be post-budget in April. So again, that's another quite substantial change. The one thing to take into consideration here, though, is that the employer's allowance is going up from £5,000 to £11,500. So that means currently the employer's national insurance of £800 odd here increases to £11,600. Off that comes the £5,000 employer's allowance, which brings the total national insurance down to zero currently payable by the employer. But going forward next year, there is a small amount of national insurance to pay despite the huge increase. So the increase to 11,600 is mainly offset by the £10,500 allowance. So that results in the employer having to pay national insurance of £1,100. So that's a small increase in national insurance for the employer. The bigger increase here, though, is also the minimum wage. So the effect of the minimum wage is an increase from 150 to 152,000 by 9,000, well, pretty much £10,000. So that means in total, the employer is going to pay £10,717 more for these 15 staff on minimum wage of 16 hours per week. Quite a big increase, given that this business is probably running on relatively low margins anyway. And then we thought, well, okay, let's have a look at another example where staff are full-time. So the same scenario, we've got the same minimum wage, and we're going to look at how that is affected by the fact that they're now working 35 hours a week. And that's now this table here. So again, we've taken the 35 hours multiplied by the 1144, comes to this, and then multiplied by 1221, and the effect on the NI. So very briefly, the national insurance increases dramatically, less the allowances, means that the national insurance bill is still going up substantially for this employer because the hours are full time. So that's roughly £9,000. The increase in the minimum wage also has a big effect, this time £21,000. So the total increase is £30,000 across the business. And that's roughly 10% up from what it cost before. Now, this is going to put immense pressure on businesses that are paying minimum wage for the staff. And as I said at the start, this is typically businesses in the leisure industry and also businesses that run settings looking after your children, doing the free 30 hours a week. The 10% increase isn't matched by what councils are increasing their fees by that they pay for your 30 hours of childcare. So in addition, with the increase in utility costs for gas, electricity, and the huge increase in water bills, we're actually going to predict that because councils are only increasing by 3 or 4% and the payroll goes up 10%, all the other utilities, we're going to predict that you may well see as a parent a reduction in the availability of 30 hours free childcare, not what the government wants, which is an increase. And this is because I think many childcare settings are simply going to be priced out of the market. They can't make money. They're not earning fortunes, and certainly they're going to earn less. That's a fact. I think some will stop offering free 30-hour childcare and possibly even close. You've been warned. Now, if you subscribe to the channel, we'll make this spreadsheet available to you so you can put your own hours and salary rate in and have a look at how this will affect you. So anyone who subscribes, you'll also get access to our other Bits of Business Bites. Thanks for watching.